Welcome to the Choosing Happiness podcast with me, your host, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. Well, howdy, y'all. Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. That's right. Here again for another episode of the Choosing Happiness podcast. Even wrote a book about it. Yes, my shameless plug. Speaks 8 languages. So, I'm so thrilled. My next guest on the Choosing Happiness podcast is the fabulous, talented, most beautiful. I hope you're looking on the YouTubes. For those of you on the other, podcast platforms, pause right now, head over to the YouTubes, okay? Because she's lovely. Without further ado, the lovely and talented Terrie Hope. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. How are you doing, lady?
Wow, I'm great. And what an intro. I love it. It's so cool.
I don't hold back. I don't. And I don't want
Okay.
you to either. Could you please tell my listeners a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, all the things.
If you want the goods.
I do. Give it up, girl. I mean it now.
Well, who I am and what I am could be quite different, but I would say that I'm happy. And through yes, exactly. And through my lifetime, I've done so many things that actually contribute to that. Historically, my education, I have a PhD and doctorate in natural medicine and quantum physics and advanced studies in consciousness, which is my primary place that I like to work from, because what I know about this is that when we choose to change something at the level of consciousness, it changes every aspect of someone's being.
Oh,
Every
wow.
aspect. It's the highest that you can get. So when you're trying to do things on a more physical level, it will have a physical reaction. But if you start working at the level of consciousness, it changes everything. It's like the domino at the top of the head.
We need to hear everything about that that you can possibly share. My whole body is just vibrating. It's like the tail wagging the dog. You know what I'm saying? Very excited
Yeah.
to hear more about this. So please continue, s'il vous plaît.
What would you like to hear more of? I'm sorry.
Well, you're talking about if you're wanting to create on a higher level, consciousness level, you can do it on a physical level. But tell me what that leap is that creates more. Because we were talking before the podcast, y'all, about, this world is filled with a lot of anxiety right now. And there are ways to navigate yourself around those triggers and all the things. So what I heard you say, and I'd like to hear more about it, is, okay, on a physical level, there's a lot you can do, but when you're willing to go to a higher level or dare I say, you're tapping into consciousness, it can change everything.
Everything.
So I want to know more about that. And I mean, you just dashed over all of your accolades also. What got you into that? And then let's go into the other conversation, if you don't mind.
I think I think I've always been hugely aware and pretty psychic, I would say, intuitive. And so it was traveling the world before I kind of got a sense of my capacities with that was a little challenging, like a lot challenging.
Okay.
Not realizing that there were things that I thought were like particularly challenging for me. They actually were more like awareness than they had anything to do with my own personal life.
Okay, speak more about that. When did you have an inkling that you had some talents and abilities that this reality hadn't told you nothing about, and you're like, whoa?
I think the first inkling was probably when I was 4 or 5 and I moved a cloud in the sky.
Oh. I used to lay down in the grass and talk to the clouds and tell them to make different shapes, and they would.
I know, right? Which sounds like so beyond this world.
Yeah.
But when you experience it, you can't say you didn't experience it.
Right. Well, you
right?
could.
But you asked me. So I did that, and then I put it aside for, quite a lot of years because I was told that wasn't possible for me to be able to do that. So I went, oh, I guess it wasn't. But now I realize how much, like almost any person by their very request, can, if they're willing to be that which it is, can actually access any of those skills if they have them, choose to
Well,
have them.
yeah, I remember when I was working in film production,
Hmm.
and we would have shoots that were partially outdoors,
Hmm.
and everyone knew that I was the weirdo of magnitude and that I could control the weather. Okay. So I would be like, okay, I know it's supposed to be a rainy day, but we're doing this Toby Keith shoot and we need for him to be in the field on this little thing. And during that time, which is going to be between this time and this time, could we not rain, please? Or be cloudy? Because
Yeah.
really nice if we had a ray of sunshine. And so I got kind of known for being able to wrangle the weather. And then I would do these trips with my mom. And the same thing, we were going to a castle and we had to
Hmm.
climb up a hill. And the guy was apologizing to us because normally you can see the castle as we're ascending up the hill and da da da. My mom goes, "Can you do something about that?" I'm like, "I can." I'm like, I'm talking to you. Hey, all the quantum entanglements, working with the elementals. Can we do something about parting them clouds? There, like that, yes. So right where we were, I kid you not, Terrie Hope. There we were on the top of this mountain where the castle was, and all the clouds was pushed back, and it's raining all around us. I've got video of this from my iPhone. Love the iPhone. And yet, where we were, no rain. And the driver and all the people in the group were starting to begin to wonder if I was a witch. And I said, "Well, of course I am. What do you think?"
Well, there was a time in history when those talents were welcomed. And then there was a time in history when they were shrouded as being wrong.
Like being heard
So
at the
it
stake.
depends when, yeah, when that was.
Right.
But they never disappeared because just people were kind of shut them down because it didn't work for them to have their head cut off to do it. So
Yes. Thank you. Thinking of past. Now, my whole body just went, "What? Let's not bring that up."
let's not even go there. But it's sometimes a thing, and we're here to talk about happiness. To me, we're here to talk about happiness while we're busy looking at all this stuff. But one of the ways that I know that we can have happiness is by focusing on that which actually brings us joy.
Thank you. True story.
Right?
Well,
And
I look at so many people that don't even know they can choose it though, Terrie. So what would you say to those people that are like, I can choose joy. Can you see my lot in life? What's going on around me? I don't even deserve it. My children's, my husband, my wife, my this, my that. What would you say to those naysayers of happiness? Like, I can find joy.
well, what I would ask is, if you had a choice, if you recognize that life has choices, and sometimes we make choices in our life that take us down the road that's not even, if we look back, we might go, oh, probably wasn't my wisest choice. But in every moment, we actually have a choice to choose,
Mm.
looking at the despair or the thing that we've decided is crappy, that's probably not as crappy as you think it is.
Right.
Or we could choose to go, hey, what's the amazingness about this? And where could I focus my attention on today? That if I focus my attention on that, would give me that sense of lightness and space and ease that maybe for quite a long time, and I know this for sure, a lot of people haven't experienced that,
Yeah. A lot of
which is
people.
which is unfortunate,
Mm.
but and part of that is a hangover from a lot of years of not being able to access it.
Right. Mm.
But it's really the idea, for me, the idea is like, if you focus on what is that thing? And if you have 1 second of joy, you want more. It's kind of like a cool drug,
That
but
one.
not from doing drugs. I
Right.
mean, the kind that's like, wow, I just looked in the fridge and realized everything that I desire is in my fridge. And where would I like to start? It's pretty simple.
I love that analogy, and I can just see some people spinning out now. What do you mean? I look at my fridge and I see a 6-pack of beer, some ham hocks, I don't know, Diet Coke, whatever,
But,
fried chicken from the night before, pizza
but
that I had for breakfast.
but how cool is that?
Yeah.
Because A, you have it in the fridge. B, you must have chosen to put it there because they were things that you like to eat.
Mm,
And they're readily available when you open up your fridge.
true story. I do enjoy perusing my fridge. When I say that though, I loved it. It's like last night, there was really nothing on the TV, and my mother loves to watch the TV. The Celeste liked the TV. She on it a lot during her waking hours. And so that's how we connect in the evenings. And last night there was like nothing I wanted to see. And we wanted to watch the rest of Oppenheimer because, it's 3 hours long. We watched 2 hours and I was like, we have one more hour, Mom. But let me cook. I got this beautiful steaks, all the things. And I was like, you know what? I just want to listen to music. I don't want, because she's cheating at solitaire anyway on her iPad. So it's like she's not even looking at the TV. And we're not familiar with the shows. And I just decided to play some 60s music. And it was such a contribution to play the
Yeah.
music. And I was dancing around in the kitchen and, sauteing fresh spinach and garlic and like garlic breath up until this morning. My cat did not appreciate it last night. And, stuffed mushrooms. And it's like sometimes the joy of living is just cooking a nice meal. And this is the stuff that was in my refrigerator. I was like,
Yeah.
what did I do? I got this and this and this and this and this, and playing some music. And I haven't listened to 60s music. I mean, it's like I wasn't listening to 60s music on the radio when it was popular. For me, it was 80s music, but I can go back and totally appreciate that. And to me, that's the joy of living. That's the joy of being. That's happiness, is when I'm willing to be that space of whatever is happening in real time,
Mhm.
almost like a meditation. I don't know if that's making sense, but
Sure.
that's what it's like for me, because cooking is like that, and the tactile thing of chopping all the things and then listening to the music. And I don't know if that's what you mean by the joy of happiness, but I know that for me that was a nice distraction, because usually it's just we're watching mindless television, and Oppenheimer was a little disturbing, but whatever.
Mhm.
My interesting point of view, y'all. It was
Mhm.
very well done. Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where I was reared, born and raised, is
Mhm.
where they built the atomic bomb, y'all.
But it's funny because by your example, where you said, like, I have a life that's like this, how do I actually get happiness when it seems so distant from where I am? But a lot of people think that they have to do something. There's a thing, like a something that they have to do outside of them
Mm.
that's actually going to make them happy rather than just making the choice. Like, oh my God, can you believe I actually have a ham hock in my fridge? I don't. But
I don't know why I said ham hock. I don't even eat ham, but I just like to, I live in the South, ham hocks and collard greens and
color greens, exactly. But
mashed
but
potatoes.
even just being able to go, wow, to find the smallest thing to be joyful about, to be grateful for, to, like, for me, I have a fantastic person who comes and looks after my house on Tuesdays, and she irons my sheets and my pillowcases for
Oh,
me.
wow.
So every Tuesday night when I get into bed, they are crispy, ironed, cotton, amazing. And I get into these sheets and I just go, oh, this is so great. Like, so great. And for me, that's like just another morsel that adds to the happiness. It's like, how did I create something that was so remarkable that I could actually experience that?
It's funny you said it. Yesterday, before I made this fabulous meal, I just wanted to be out in nature. And I do every morning. I get in my hot tub and I connect with Mother Nature and meditate, do all the things. And if it's raining, I actually have a jacuzzi tub in my bathroom, so I can do the same thing and look out the window and all the stuff. And I was like, Celeste, let's go for a walk, my mom, Celeste. And so what was funny was a couple of days prior, we were talking about how she has these two on either side of the door of the studio, music studio, where she teaches piano and all this. There are these two, they look like little tiny Christmas trees that are in these giant pots. And what we did when we first put them there is we put, what are they called? Pansies all around, but pansies don't last. It's one of those things you put them out, they're going to die. They ain't going to come back. But it's an extravagance or whatever. And we did it when she first moved in, but now it's been 4 years, literally 4 years this month that COVID hit. We're talking about, it's March 14th, 2024. So 2024 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'd really like to do that again. I said, well, we can go to wherever and go pick them up and da 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 da. And like, what would it take? Because we're both so busy now. And so we go for this walk. And in my neighborhood, Terrie, they're tearing down all these little houses built in the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
And resurrecting these McMansions. Okay.
Monolithic. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because this is a kind of an iconic street. It's called Rainbow Place. And a lot of people in this area know about it. Right. And so here I had gutted, I felt like I started a trend. I gutted my house and added on to it for my mom. And then all of a sudden, one by one, these houses are like going down and our neighbors are leaving. It's weird. But we're taking this little here walk and we get to this one house and they have the dumpster in front because they're getting rid of all the things on the inside. You see the plumbing and everything just thrown in there. And then on the side, there's a pile where they have dug up all the flowers and all the plants that were in the front because they're obviously going to redo all of that.
Yeah.
And I went, Celeste, oh my goddess, look what's going on in here. And there they were. There were the pansies. So after we did the walk, I grabbed like some paper bags and I filled up 3 paper bags full of them. And I went and I planted them all around our thing. And she goes, oh my goodness, we just talked about it. I know, Mom, the universe listens. That's how magical we are. And, I got to see her big old broad smile. And then this morning she was watching me as I was planting them because we're supposed to get a lot of rain starting tonight. And I watered them just the same. But this is the beauty of creation when you're actually willing to create beyond what you even know is possible. We start out with this stress relief thing, and yet I'm going into all these possibilities of what you can create and generate when you're actually willing to be that joy that brings in happiness that we don't think we either can achieve, create, or are worthy of. Have you noticed? That's what people are very interested with their points of view about all that.
Yeah. And, and it's kind of funny because when people recognize that they have choice, recognize that you have choice. And choice doesn't mean that it's this or this. It could be a bazillion choices.
Yeah.
But when you recognize that you actually have choice, which means you could actually choose to be happy or choose to look at stress, like, because we were going to talk about stress and we haven't talked about stress, but it doesn't matter.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, no, because did you notice? I don't know if you noticed, if you're watching this, that you don't feel stress as much anymore, because what we're talking about is what's really true for most people is what's joyous inside. It's absolutely what is really true for us as beings, as human beings. The joy part is more real than the stress and anxiety part.
Yeah, true. Well, for me, but here's the thing, and we got to take a station identification break, but I want to end with this before we come back. My mother appears to be, and my families, they seem to be addicted to the stress, almost as if they don't experience the stress, they're not living. Like, I have to prove that I'm alive by going through all of this trauma drama. I mean, I will listen to my mother because my sibs will call at night. They all have different days they do the thing. And she'll go through this. Oh my goodness, we had to get a new HVAC. And I don't know. I was glad that we were able to do it, all this stuff. And she's like, oh, it's just so terrible. We had to buy it. It was so much same as cash. It's easy. $200 and something a month. Come on. It's less than my actual heating and cooling bill every month. I'm like, why? What? But for her, I'm going, yay, look at how fabulous our lives are. I have the credit that makes it possible for me to do the same as cash. And she's like, oh no, we have to buy it. You're going to have a house. That's what's going to happen. But I do want to stop for a moment because I got to pay the bills and I got to, I do have a sponsor. Y'all, Manduu, it is not a hair salon for men. It's the electrocution workout. It's a 15-minute work. I know they hate it when I say that, but when you watch a commercial, you'll know what I'm talking about. You're wearing this little suit. It's got a bunch of TENS units in there, and it triggers all these muscle points. And in 15 minutes, it's like you had a 4-hour workout. But guess what? This commercial tell it all in 1 minute. So please listen in, and we'll be right back.
Manduu is a boutique fitness studio concept, and we are actually the first FDA cleared EMS training workout. And what we do essentially is that we will have a client come in, we will hook them up to a whole body EMS suit, and then we perform a workout on a medical grade device called an eFit device. And that device will send an electrical current to their body through electrodes in these suits that we put on them. And this electrical current is just basically stimulating the electrical current that you already have inside your body. So everybody is made up of electrical impulses. It's what helps you walk, helps you move. We're tapping into that and making it stimulate it more to where we can cause a muscle to actually contract involuntarily. So we can actually create resistance without adding a load to the body. So that is why we, as you see online, it always says ultra low impact. It is scientifically proven. It is absolutely ultra low impact.
And we're back. Hello, y'all. Choosing Happiness podcast with me, Rudrani Devi, your host, and my very special guest, Miss Terrie Hope, or should I say Dr. Terrie Hope? Are you a doctor? You're a doctor, aren't you?
I'm a doctor. Yeah.
She's showboating and not showboating because she actually got them brains to back it up. We've been talking about some things. We have been. And I want to keep talking about these things because when we left, I was talking about the trauma drama aspect because there's so many people out there. And you're right. You're in our space. You're going to be all relaxed. It's going to be easy for you to find the joy. Mm-hmm. And can you sustain that or whatever? Why is it we have people in our life like my mama that love the trauma drama?
I kind of get that it's a default mechanism. And I think that sometimes it's actually trained. In fact, this is going to sound funny, but I noticed the other day that when I go to text something to somebody and it does autocorrect, the words that come up in the autocorrect are negative words. They are like words of negativity, like to the negative side, not to the positive side. And I actually don't type. There's no negative words in my vocabulary. So it's not a learned thing that it's learned from me about how horrible things are and we need to, be pessimistic and things aren't going to happen. Those things actually are never in my vocabulary. So I haven't taught my phone to do that. So it's not a learned thing. But I think that how people live in life is to focus on the problem. And I'm just wondering, how busy does it make people when they have a problem to solve or a problem to expand upon that will keep them busy for a long time?
Well, almost as if they need it. It was like I was saying before to prove that they're real, to prove they're alive or something. And I find that people, I remember one day I was doing Pilates and somebody was complaining about the car commercial where the I don't remember, it was the husband or the wife character in the commercial who was gifting a SUV or a truck or something that had a big giant bow on it. And they were like, oh yeah. I mean, like everybody can gift their spouse a $60,000 vehicle. And I said, well, I ain't got no spouse, but I'd be willing to receive a big bow on top of a nice vehicle in the middle of my driveway for Christmas. And they just looked at me like I was high or something. But I wasn't joking. I was like, I could receive that. And I wondered, are they not willing to receive that in their own lives? Or they think that that's out of their reach? Or it was like so foreign to me that they were actually having a discussion about this commercial like it was something bad that is impossible. Because I'm going, well, anything's possible. And if you're willing to receive, you can receive anything.
That's
I don't know if
true.
you can speak to that, but it was just the weirdest. I'll never forget the looks I got because I was usually pretty quiet, but I was kind of laughing in my head, like going, really? This is the conversation we're having during Pilates this morning? You know? I don't know if you've seen
Well,
those commercials. I have not seen one in quite a while. This is before the COVID, I don't know, 2018 or something. But I was like, really? I mean, I'm willing to receive anything from the universe. And I think that's the reason why those pansies showed up. I mean, as simple as that sounds, oh my God, they already checked on them twice, watered them. And I'm like, y'all are perking up, y'all happy that I gave
they're
you.
happy.
Yeah, they're like, hello, thank you so much. And they're kind of in a shaded area because I don't know if you know this about pansies, y'all. I was a Kappa Alpha Theta in college, and that was our flower, was the pansies.
Oh,
And the
wow.
pansies are more of a winter thing. It's not really a summer thing. So they don't last. They're not, they don't rejuvenate every year. But they weren't ready to go, man. So now they're in the shade and they gotta probably have another like 3 or 4 months before they go bye bye bye,
Wow. That's
So
cool.
yeah, I don't know.
That's
Silly, but
cool.
simple things like that just wag the tail for me, you know?
Yeah.
The dog wagging the tail wagging the dog, actually. Yeah, the other way.
Yeah.
So, what is it about people? What do you know? Because you're the doctor. You the
Yeah.
doctor.
What do
What
I know about people?
experience? Well, this whole thing about the trauma drama aspect, not being willing, not knowing you can have your joy, not knowing you can choose happiness. I mean, I know you've done all kinds of research, and it was funny because we were talking earlier. She's like, research don't pay the bills. You say it that way.
Well,
She goes, I don't get paid for
did
research.
that come out of my mouth?
You said,
Well,
I don't get paid for research, is what you said. And I was like, okay, but you got a lot of knowledge about that. Would you mind sharing
I,
maybe a little bit about it? I don't know if it'll contribute because it's fascinating to me that you
well,
guys do this research. For what purpose? What do we know from the research that maybe the peeps that are watching or listening now or in the future don't know that maybe
yeah.
contribute to them? Hello, you could choose happiness, y'all.
Well, let me start with this. I chose to do research because it made me happy.
Mm.
And I chose to do research because I knew that it would end up contributing something magical to the world. And it wasn't because I got paid for it. It was because I knew that it would create a future that was different. I
Mm.
absolutely knew it. And I was so far in the future. And I did this research on this really cool process called access bars, which the first time I ever had a session, I was happier than I'd ever been in my life.
Wow.
Like it was almost like I was happy. And then all of a sudden I'm even happier. Like, how do you get happier when you didn't really do anything, but somebody touched my head for 20 minutes and I couldn't believe how elated I felt. And probably now when I look at the juxtaposition, like
Mm.
I felt I was happy.
Mhm.
But now I had a whole new level of like, oh, what is that? That happiness?
Right, right.
So it was almost like going from being happy to being alive.
Hmm.
That's how I would put it.
Wow. I remember my first bars session. It was so unexpected because what had happened was a chiropractor that I was doing this vitamin thing with him. Okay. So we were selling these vitamins where you scan your hand and you can determine what vitamins will actually do for your body. Oh, technology. This is so great. This is before iPhones, y'all. And so it was kind of a big deal, I guess, at the time. And we partnered up. And then he was telling me about this guy that was going to channel at this other guy's house. And the other guy happened to be a friend of mine who's a singer-songwriter, Kent Blasey. And so I went, and there was this dude there channeling, and turned out to be the creator of Access Consciousness. And there was another guy, the co-creator, who was just a student at the time called Dane Here. I don't even remember seeing him
Oh,
there,
okay.
but which was interesting. So that's how I got introduced because Access was kind of big in Nashville when we were only in 3 countries: Australia,
Wow.
just dipping our toe into Italy, which is Cass Thomas. Thank you, Cass. And Nashville, which was my first introduction. And so I met a woman there who I don't even know what her business was, but I was invited because at the time I was also channeling. I mean, now I do, psychic mediumship separately, differently. I don't let
Mhm.
something come through me anymore. I talk to beings outside my body. But there we were. She's sitting next to me. She goes, you channel? And I said, I do. And she goes, well, would you be willing to trade with me? I do this thing called access bars, and that guy right there, created blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I don't know. And I knew, even though I didn't know what the hell she was talking about, that it was something I needed to try.
Mhm.
So she went first because I was like, I need to know if this is real. So I go to her facility and I'm like, oh, this is kind of a dump. Not really a dump, but it was just like the back. She's renting this tiny little room in the back of this thing, whatever. And I go in there and I laid down and she puts her hands on my head and I wake up like an hour later and I am so relaxed because I fell asleep. And I thought, well, that's a ripoff. I just fell asleep, but I felt so light. And then she came to this room right here that we're in, a little healing room,
Cool.
and I channeled for her. And I was also doing other body processes, and this is before access body processes. And I will just do a shout out, life alignment technique I was doing, and tapping and tuning forks and all this stuff. So we traded and we got to every other week. 1 week I would go there. The following week she would come here. So from 2003 until I actually became bars certified in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of bars sessions
Oh,
and I
wow.
didn't even know what they were doing for me. All I knew is, Terrie, for me personally, this is going to sound terrible to some of y'all, maybe not. I don't care. I began to care less. And it was the kindest thing I could do, was to care less. Because here I'd made it so important how people would show up and all this. And I finally went, you know what? That's working for them. Regardless, I'm not going to make it important, or my point of view important, or who wants people to project onto you what they think you should be doing or whatever. And caring
Mhm.
less was actually a kindness, because instead of caring so much that I'm strangling them with my ideologies, I'm going, hey, you know what? You do you. I'll do me. And I mean, it freed me. It freed me. It gave me a lot of joy. So for bars, I mean, here we're talking about bars, and I'll have a link below in the show notes, and also with Terrie's research, because I find it fascinating, because you can actually prove that bars, actually undoes a lot of the anxiety. You can physically see it. I mean, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, about how you were able to capture parts of the brain that when you ran bars would literally calm the hell down, for lack of a way of putting it. Because I had no idea. All I knew is it felt great when I got them done. Could you say
Yeah.
a little bit
And
about it?
it's kind of funny because we don't have the technology to measure when yet, and I'm going to use the operative word yet, what is happening. But we can, while it's happening necessarily, but we can measure the before and after. And the before and after gives us a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because it not only changed anxiety and depression in people who showed up for many research projects, but it also changed the brainwave patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you look at changing brainwave patterns, there was a time when people didn't think that you could ever change your brain.
Right.
It was kind of fixed. And then everyone started talking about neuroplasticity, like as if it was some magical thing, because they had the fixed point of view that brains don't change. But now they know
Wait.
that brains
For those
change.
who don't know what neuroplasticity is, could you give us a little tiny description so they aren't going, what the hell she just said? I'm gone.
The capacities for brains to change
Okay.
is neuroplasticity.
Cool.
Yeah. Basically, that would be in a short way. But there was a time in history when they thought that brains were just brains and that's how they are. And there's no way that they could have neurological changes. And now, even when people have a stroke or something like that, they can detect because the technology has gone so far, how the brain kind of looks after itself and reroutes neural pathways so that people recover better.
I love that. Wow. So I got to see the research because I watched it, but this whole thing where I saw where there were electrodes connected to the brain while somebody was doing bars or before and after bars?
Before and after, it's almost impossible to run a bar session and measure somebody
Okay.
at the same time as with the current technology. Although one piece of research that I did, we measured people who there was a person receiving the bar session, and then the person who was giving the bar session, the practitioner, we measured their brainwave patterns while they were giving the access bar session.
Yeah, I thought there was something at some conference where they actually did that.
Yeah, so
I did see that. Okay.
yeah, it was some research that I developed with one of my colleagues, Dr. Jeffrey Fannin. And what we did is we went to various places around the US and we measured people's brains before and after access bars.
Wow.
And they didn't have anxiety and depression. They were just general population. And in that research, we found that there was more brain coherence. And what that means, just that segue between the two, is it means the brain communicates better.
Okay.
It's the communication between brain regions improved.
So
So, which is kind of good because, a lot of people, and that was general population. So a lot of people who are stressed, they having more brainwave communication or communication between regions is kind of it's kind of good. Improvement.
I love it. It's kind of good, she says. It's fucking phenomenal, y'all. Just saying.
Well, yeah. Well, I tend to downplay that, whatever that is, but it's remarkable. It is remarkable because in 1 hour, being able to have someone's brainwave patterns change to that degree is unheard of.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And it's so simple. This is why, we're both certified facilitators of access consciousness, I believe. And here I am. I still enjoy so much teaching that 1 day workshop called Access Bars because I can facilitate it with anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, brother, mother, sister, lover. I don't care who it is. You don't have to be a massage therapist or a chiropractor to take the class. You still get a certification where you can now work on bodies and you get paid for it. And if you take it from 3 different facilitators, you can actually teach the class. So I'm like that person, it's like, I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like the world to learn the bars and keep it company. I mean, it's just, I'm a singer, y'all can't help myself. But
There you
the
go.
whole thing is, it's like that one modality. And I love facilitating all the other things that I facilitate. But watching people that didn't even know that just using these digits on someone's head could change their world so much and theirs. Because here's the cool part, Terrie, that I love the most. If you have any thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are similar to the person you're working on, you get to claim for yourself as well. And it's amazing to me because I facilitate for my mama. She lived with me. And we got to have a couple of things that we have points of view about that we share. And yet, it's like we have moments of, okay, I think I need to run your bars, lady. Okay. Yeah. And we go there and then there's harmony again. So by all means, you guys, don't go online right now and try to find a bars facilitator in your area so that you can have less stress in your life.
You could.
And whatever you do, do not take a bars class, because why would you want to, actually make money to make other people happy around you because you're tired of them having cranky pants, I don't know. I'm just saying out loud the things that I'm thinking in my head. I don't know. Stuff. But yeah, stress reduction. I got to tell you, Terrie, I don't know about you, but I have tried, which means I've failed. I have tried to get this in with our veterans, to get this into, I'm in Music City, USA. I'm familiar with a lot of people in the music industry, and I'm like going to record labels and artists and management and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys, I know it's a stressful life. Can I come in and do a workshop at your facility? And they're like, oh, that's too woo-woo for us. And so that's why I love that you're doing all the research that you're doing. And I'm hoping I can share this conversation with your research to these different outlets and be like, hey, people, you don't got to be stressed. You can actually change this. You can actually create and generate for your life and living. And you don't have to go spend millions of dollars to do it.
No.
Go figure.
It's pretty miraculous because I know that we're not taught, and this is kind of a funny thing, but we're actually not taught that we have the capacities to change things, not only emotionally, but that we can change things physically without having to do some exterior thing to make it happen. You know, like what I mean by exterior is like we don't need pharmaceutical to change.
We don't have to take a pill. That's what I was going to say, but exactly.
Don't have to take a pill. Don't have to take a mushroom. Don't have to take an anesthetic. We don't need to take anything. And what's cool, I think, that I really love about Access Bars is that the person who's receiving the session is the one who dictates the degree of change and the degree of happiness and the degree of relaxation that they have from it. It's not an exterior thing. They're 100% in control of the deal,
right.
Which is like, you don't have to even be afraid of it because it's like, here, somehow our beings know it's like, wow, you know, I'd like to have a lot less stress.
Right. I love that you put it that way because it really is up to the person on the table. You're facilitating, and we teach that when we're facilitating that class. It's basically, okay, the boss is the one on the table. If they ain't talking, you don't talk. You know what I mean? If they got a lot of questions, you know, you structure it in a way where they get the answers on their own. Hey, what are you noticing right now? Is this?
I think it's like the ultimate empowerment tool.
It is. It's beautiful. I'm so grateful to Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here for, you know, creating this platform for all of us to explore and create and generate beyond what we thought was possible, because that's what the bars does for me. I mean, I trade almost on the weekly, sometimes twice. I have certified over 300 people now in Access Bars. Like I said, it's still one of my favorite classes to facilitate because I see such great change, not just from those receiving, but those gifting that are going, oh my goodness. I remember I actually, I had a couple of classes where I tricked my mama into taking the class because I said, I'm one short and I need an even number, Mom. Could you just please? And there were other times where we were short. I said, just be the head for this person to work on. And I remember the first time she did it, she goes, I can feel it in my hands. And I said, of course. She's a piano concertist, by the way, you know, whatever. But she was so shocked. I'm like, well, of course, you know, you create music. Why couldn't you create whatever the neurotransmitter, you know, points being on, you know, whatever it is? Because to me, it's like, it's acupressure in a way, because I know those meridian points, even though we don't have the names for them in Access, we just call the groupings different things, but they're actually acupressure points. And the body knows them very well. You'd be surprised, y'all. When I facilitate the class, there's literally little holes that your fingers go into that the head was designed for. It's so crazy because you can't miss it. You can't mess it up. It's so easy for anyone. So
it's easy. It's true.
Easy. So I don't know. I could talk to you forever. Maybe we'll have to make you a repeat offender. And
could I be a repeat happiness offender?
You could.
Creator.
That would work.
Yeah, totally.
I think my peeps would love to have you back. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see all the things.
Perfect.
Here's the thing, though. It is called the Choosing Happiness podcast. So, Terrie Hope, could you tell my listeners what you do to create your happy? What is it you do for you that creates your happiness, girlfriend?
I stay really present to what I'm doing all the time. Like I don't check out. When I check out, and what I mean by check out, it's sort of like go and do stuff unconsciously and just go, oh, I'm just going to go do. I'm just going to go do
Oh,
this
yeah,
and
it's
not
like
really.
a lot of people check out like 90% of the I'm so like, oh, Terry, I know what you're talking about. For me, it's like after I go hook up with my mom for dinner and we watch, Oppenheimer, not that I'm checked out for Oppenheimer, but you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just going to relax and receive there. I'm just going to be here and watch what I'm watching and I don't have to do anything. To me, that's checking out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and the thing is that a lot of people walk through the world that way, and then they wonder how it is that they're not happy, because how can you be present to what creates happiness in your world if you're checked out?
right.
But I kind of get that, in the world of technology, I think we just need to steer the ship differently. Like, I'm aware that if we can get people to give a sense that there's something beyond what we're filling the time in with, that using our time in a way that really serves us, not only like in that moment, but like including the future, it makes a big difference in how the degree of happiness that you can be and experience, because you're not busy walking into brick walls. Like, if we knew we were going to walk into a brick wall, would we walk into it?
Oh, girl, I got to speak to this for 1 second because I have this thing where I'm like going 90 miles a minute and I have a tendency to drag my body. And you know what happens? I get bruises because I literally run into a wall or a door or a handle or whatever. It's like I hate handles and I hate drawer pulls. So I made sure that my house really didn't have them. But you still got the ones where you get to open the door. And I can't tell you, I've caught a sweater or whatever. I'm like, body, I am so sorry. And it's like my body goes so fast and my brain is going faster. And so meditation and bars is required for me because I'm always going, and it's a lot for me. I know it's a lot for other people, but it's a lot for me. Imagine how I feel. I'm with me 24/7, y'all. So
Yeah.
I get you. And that's why I make my practice every morning. For me, I get my happy on by getting in my hot tub. If it's raining, I get in my jacuzzi that's on the inside of the house.
Yeah.
And I'm in that space of connecting with Mother Earth. And excuse me, it's like a reset for me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. Okay, so y'all, we're going to have the deets underneath how you can find the Dr. Terrie Hope, all the fabulous things, all the research she done did, her websites, all the stuff. If you like this conversation, maybe hit the subscribe button so you know when we come live. And, by the way, if you know of someone this could have been a contribution to, please share it with them. Thank you for your contribution today, Miss Dr. Terrie Hope. Miss Dr. Terrie Hope.
Ms. Doctor. There we go.
Why not?
There you
I
go.
love it. We're not going to take that out.
You are so welcome. It's been really great talking to you. And I always enjoy the conversations we've had off camera. And it was so great to be able to contribute to you and your show and everybody who's going to see this. So
absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. So until next time, y'all, you know what I'm going to say. Ciao, ciao for now. Thank you so much for choosing happiness. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, share, and give us a like. And if you want more happy, subscribe to the Choosing Happiness membership where you can play directly with me, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. How does it get any better than that?